My name's Mike, and this is The Bored Cyborg. Welcome back to yet another review. Today I'm talking about a 2008 film by the Wachowskis, Speed Racer. I'm curious to know what your thoughts on Speed Racer 08 are, so feel free to leave those in the comments below. And of course, as usual, we can get a little discussion going. Now, real quick, this is a film I watched for the first time probably like 4 years ago or so with a good friend who is a huge fan of this movie. And to be quite honest, we were drinking. I was kind of drunk. It was towards the end of the night. I was passing in and out of consciousness, so I don't remember or didn't remember too much about this movie, besides the fact that it was visually stunning. I went into it last night after I saw that Speed Racer was trending for whatever reason. I was like, you know what? I need to rewatch the Wachowskis' 2008 Speed Racer, which is obviously based on an anime from the 60s, or a manga anime from the 60s, and so I popped it in, and my expectations were pretty low, to be quite honest. I knew I was going to be getting a visual feast, and I do get that, but little did I know that Speed Racer 2008 would become one of my favorite films of all time. I've seen a lot of movies, but I would say that this movie falls within the top 150, just based on the viewing that I watched last night. The film blew me away. Now, I will say I'm not familiar with the anime. I do own it on Blu-ray, and I'm going to familiarize myself with it now that I've seen the film, because I want to see where all the inspiration comes from, and some of the camera styles and tricks that they use in Speed Racer 08. I want to see it in the original anime film and see how much they drew from it, because I feel like it's a pretty faithful adaptation. So, I do want to check out the anime series, and will soon. As a whole, this film is one of the most visually brilliant movies that I have ever seen in my entire life. Yes, it is all green screen, but oh my god, does it do it better than Alice in Wonderland, drawing a blank, but a bunch of movies around that time came out and they were strictly in front of a green screen. Sin City is an example of one that got it really right, but this film, yes, it is mostly green screen with very few actual sets, but it is so aesthetically pleasing to look at. It is a audio-visual orgasm of a film. The first 20 minutes are some of the most brilliant filmmaking that I think the Wachowskis have accomplished. We get the introduction of all of the main characters: Speed Racer, his brother Rex, his girlfriend Trixie, his father, his mother, his brother, youngest brother. We get all of their backstories, just enough of information that we need about them to get the story rolling. And basically, the first 20 minutes is Speed Racer in a race. And it's flashing back and forth between his brother Rex Racer, who got in a car accident and vanished, presumably died. And it cuts back and forth between his brother, the ghost of his brother, and Speed Racer on the same track. And the way it moves in and out of flashbacks is, for one, incredibly stylized, very anime-like, obviously. And for two, poignant. I mean, in the first 15 minutes, you know what Speed Racer's motivations are, you know who he is as a character, as well as pretty much all of his other family. You know who Rex was. Of course, there's mystery that unfolds as we go along, but man, the storytelling and the visuals in the first 20 minutes, hook, line, and sinker, I was on board. So the plot centers on Speed Racer and his family, and his mechanic, Sparky. His father runs Racer Automotives or something like that, where he's the one who builds Speed Racer's Mach 5, his car. The plot centers around Speed Racer and the family. Speed Racer gets a whole bunch of calls after he wins this race in the beginning of the film. Everybody wants to sign him to their team, and this one guy comes in a purple suit with a shit-eating grin. You know he's up to no good. And of course he's buttering them up, making them think that he is their savior. And as things go on, Speed Racer learns that, well, in a scene that basically hits him right in the face, he learns that this dude is all about business, doesn't give a shit about racing, and it's all about money for him. It's all about power. It's all about ruling the world. There's so much symbolism and symbolic scenes and metaphors This film really is an age-old story. It's a timeless story about corruption in governments. It's about governments controlling you as much as they could, as much as they see fit to sort of get the outcome that they desire, which is usually money. And so in this film, really, racing is analogous to creativity or life. The way I look at it, racing is creativity, which could conquer, in my opinion, could conquer all evil on the planet. All of the issues that we have on this planet, I think, could be solved through creativity. So racing is creativity. The racetrack is life. And so the racetrack is where Speed Racer gets to show his artistry, his creativity. And this is further cemented through a lot of the exposition with him and his mother. His mother, so many beautiful scenes in this movie where his mother's talking to him about the art that he creates when he's racing. And it's true, I mean, he's weaving in and out of cars, he's using his car's abilities to jump around and to swerve in and out and to do fancy tricks as he's making turns. He's making art. And his character, there's a line in the film that basically cements all of these ideas, and it's his father saying, "Do you really think you're going to change the world with racing?" And that's how I feel about creativity and art. Art does change the world, and his racing does end up changing the world. And Speed Racer's response to his father is, "It's the only thing I know how to do." And I really connect with that because I feel, and I'm sure many artists, if not all artists, feel the same way. When I'm writing, I feel like it's the only thing that I know how to do. How to tell stories. And I haven't even told many yet, at least on film. But I resonated with that idea so much. Sometimes art could seem trivial, like a piece of art, a movie, a song, but it's not. It's profound. And this movie nails home those ideas, and it doesn't shove it down your throat, but it weaves these ideas, these ideologies, into the narrative in a way that only great storytellers can do. And who comes to mind is George Lucas, and the Wachowskis definitely do this. With a lot of their movies, they take old ideas and make them new. George Lucas took old ideas, made them new for a new generation. Speed Racer is an age-old story about government corruption and the individual's plight to overcome that. And when a whole bunch of individuals team up, we can make it happen. Sorry to go on a super philosophical rant there, but this movie really evoked all of these feelings in me, and I really just wanted to get on camera today and sort of get them out to you guys to see if you feel the same way. So the first 20 minutes really sets the groundwork with all of the characters and what's going on in this world, how important racing is to this fictional world. But what really elevates this movie to absolute greatness, in my opinion, honestly guys, this is a near masterpiece for me. On a second viewing, it might become a perfect film in my opinion. It's damn close. I really don't have any nitpicks. But what sets this movie apart is obviously its visual style. It is some of the most vibrant, brilliant, just vivacious aesthetics in a film that I have ever seen. Every single composition is beautiful. It's a piece of art. Some really underrated shots in this movie, by the way. In terms of the cinematography, too, there's great usage of the split diopter. A split diopter shot basically is two focal lengths. Both are in focus, so there's a split on the lens, and that way you could focus both areas. Brian De Palma is famous for this. But in this film, it's so seamless. Usually you could recognize the area that's out of focus in the middle of the two subjects that are in focus, but in this, they use it often, whenever there's an opportunity to, and it really lends to the aesthetic of the film. You know, the Wachowskis are known for their stories and their depth to their stories, at least for The Matrix. What this film brings with the composition is just pure beauty. There are some shots that just took my breath away, many shots that just took my breath away. I don't know who the cinematographer was, but whoever they worked with, it was a match made in heaven. So many beautiful compositions. The visuals, every single scene is stunning to look at and engaging. You just get so into the world. You are ingrained in this world within the first 20 minutes. You understand its rules. You understand what it's all about. Some would say it's too flashy. Some would say there's too much going on. And I agree, there's a shit ton going on. But it always makes sense. It's always moving. It's the epitome of dynamic filmmaking. It's so engaging, and I was enthralled watching this movie, especially during the action sequences. But even the non-action sequences, the exposition, it's all done so stylistically sound that it just captures your imagination. It made me feel like a kid. And not many movies do that. Not many movies that I've never seen do that for me here in 2019. But Speed Racer did. Usually older movies that I've seen, they make me feel like a kid again, usually through nostalgia. But I don't have nostalgia for Speed Racer or the anime. But this film made me feel like a kid again. And I know down the road, watching it over and over, it's going to make me feel like that all the time. And that's the thing. It captures the child's imagination perfectly. The lack of attention. There's always something going on. Ooh, shiny. Ooh, look at that. What's that over there? Ooh, a bug. Ew, let's rip it apart. The film translates that through its visuals, unlike mostly any other movie I've ever seen. There's always something going on. It's always exciting. And the action, the car races in this movie are phenomenally shot. Multiple races, I think 4, and each one they up the ante. The last race takes place, it's like a multiple continent race, or the second to last race, I should say, is a multiple continent race where there are hundreds of cars racing, and there's just these vast desert areas and then snowy areas. It's so diverse and so good. The action is phenomenal. Of course, these cars are decked out with all sorts of weaponry and gadgets, and like I said, the Mach 5 is able to like bunny hop over cars, which creates some really tense and cool sequences. But yeah, the action just non-stop. When these races are happening, I couldn't even blink. I was wide-eyed. I felt myself, every once in a while, I'd be like, holy shit, my eyes are literally widened without me even knowing that they were. My jaw was on the ground. I was drooling like a kid. Like a fucking kid in a candy store. That's what this is, a visual feast. It's a visual candy store. Not only do we get phenomenal driving sequences, some of the best this century for sure, maybe some of the best ever in my opinion, at least visually. We also get a hand-to-hand combat scene, which is really well choreographed. We get it with Racer X and a ninja. Straight up, long takes, hand-to-hand combat, great sound design, hard-hitting, great choreography. It's just, out of nowhere it came. I was like, alright, I know I'm going to get more and more racing sequences, but we also got a hand-to-hand combat sequence, which just totally floored me. And then following that up, we get a fight sequence with the entire family. They're all kicking ass. Trixie, the mother, the youngest son, the father, who's John Goodman, by the way, plays the father, and he's throwing people around, swinging people all around. And I didn't even talk about the cast. John Goodman, Susan Sarandon, Emil Hirsch as Speed Racer, Christina Ricci as Trixie. Now, I want to mention also, Speed Racer did the large live-action anime eyes before Battle Angel Alita did, and they did it without CGI. They just hired Christina Ricci. There are some shots in this where her eyes are so huge and so anime-like. It's obvious why they chose her. She does a fantastic job. So I'm calling it now. Speed Racer did it before, 10 years, 11 years before Battle Angel Alita with the large anime eyes, and they did it without CG. Pretty impressive. The dynamic in the cast, they work together so well. All of them have their moments to shine. Even the kid, he doesn't get too annoying. At points, that's like my only nitpick. I feel like the kid gets annoying at a few points, and the monkey, the chimp is a little weird, but I know it goes back to the animated show. All of the characters work together so well. Sparky, I don't know who did, I've noticed him, I've recognized him, but I don't know who the actor was. Sparky, there are so many family moments, and that's really what this movie is too. It's about family, and the team, the race team, is a family, quite literally. So this film has so much going for it, so many simple ideas that we take for granted, and it's just such a well-told story. I know I didn't talk much about the story, but that's really all you need to know about it. It's about Speed Racer finding his way, creating on the track, and trying to figure out a way for his trade, his skill, his art to change the world. And there's some mystery going on with this racer named Racer X, who may or may not be his lost brother, his brother that vanished or died. So there's some mystery in there as well, which actually kept me engaged. And the payoff to that is quite satisfying and doesn't really feel like a cop-out, even though it feels like it should feel like a cop-out, but it doesn't. I think this is a film that holds up really well, the visuals, and I think it's a film that will, because it knows what it is. It doesn't try to be something that it's not. It's going for that animated CG look, and it nails it on the head. So I think 50 years down the road, people are going to look back at this and say, you know what, it still works, because they were going for a style, and they didn't turn around, they didn't back out of it halfway through. They went for it 110%, and I think they killed it, to be honest. I was blown away. As you could probably tell, I'm rambling so much here about how this film really made me feel, but that's what this channel is about. It's about, I'm not a critic. I talk about movies and I talk about how they make me feel. Usually it just equates to me verbal diarrhea-ing all over the place, but that's really what this movie did for me. It made me feel. I connected with Speed Racer as a character in terms of being somebody who looks at himself as an artist who has created his whole life and feels like it's the only thing that I know how to do, to create. And so I really connected with Speed Racer, the character, the story about government corruption, them trying to seize power over the individual and changing the world through your individual ways, through individuality and expressing yourself how you express yourself. All of that just connected for me 110%. I absolutely adore this movie, guys. I'm dying to know what you think of it. Am I alone here? Is this an underrated gem? Is this a film that people are going to look back on and say, wow, that was a classic of the era? You know me, I'm all about prosthetic and practical effects and sets and matte paintings. But when CG worlds are done right, it really creates such a special experience. And like I said, Sin City is another one that gets it so damn right. Even though it's all in front of green screen, they get it right. They nail it on the head. Speed Racer does the same. I absolutely loved this movie. I just want to thank you guys for checking out my review, my rather passionate review of Speed Racer. This wasn't so much a review as it was just me gushing about a film and how it made me feel and what it did for me. It's not very often you watch a movie that just automatically pops up on your top 100 list or top 150 list, one of your favorite films of all time. I was glued to the screen for all 2 hours and 12 minutes or whatever it was, and just absolutely engaged and blown away. I'm curious to know what you guys thought of this film, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to get a conversation going. Am I a crazy man? Am I the only one who feels this way about this movie? I know there's others out there that love it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications if you want to see more videos like this. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg, out. Speed Racer!